Why do you feel utterly exhausted even when you've had enough sleep? As if your soul is carrying the weight of a world no one else understands. Chosen one, this is not just another random video. This is the answer to the silent prayers you've whispered in the dark. A divine roadmap sent to help you decode the signs from heaven and reclaim absolute inner peace. You have endured isolation and pressure for far too long, but today, your healing begins the moment you realize you are being prepared for a grace greater than anything you've ever known. Do not scroll past, because delaying this message means missing the key to the door of destiny that God has specifically designed for you. Please comment, "I receive," as a sacred confirmation to welcome this flow of strength. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel to continue receiving guidance from heaven, because your glorious journey has only just begun. The Midnight Recruitment: Why Your Soul Refuses to Sleep. My friend, let me guess. How many times have you jolted awake while the rest of the world is still shrouded in silence? You reach for your clock, and the numbers staring back at you are always the same. Perhaps it's 2:22, 3:15, or 3:33 a.m. You sigh, feeling drained, wondering if you're facing a health issue or just too much stress. But a still, small voice deep inside whispers, "No, this isn't an accident." Today, I want to speak directly to you, the chosen one who is exhausted from these white nights. The truth is, your soul isn't suffering from insomnia. It is being summoned. In theology and the deepest spiritual traditions, the hours between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. are known as the watchman's hour, or the moment the veil is thinnest. Why at midnight? Imagine your daytime life as a noisy stadium. Phone pings, bills to pay, social small talk, and the constant hustle for survival. All of this creates spiritual static that makes it nearly impossible to hear the gentle, calm voice of heaven. But when darkness falls and the frequency of the natural world drops to its lowest, your heavenly board meeting begins. God isn't waking you up to make you tired. He's waking you up because He has a divine data file that needs to be downloaded directly into your spirit, bypassing the logic of your conscious mind. The story of John, from exhaustion to revelation. To see how this works in real life, look at John. John is a 45-year-old civil engineer in Houston, Texas. A devout man, but his life was a loop of high-stakes stress. For 2 years, his major bridge project was stalled by a geological glitch that no expert could solve. John stopped sleeping. Every night, he woke up at exactly 3:15 a.m. At first, John did what 99% of us do. He grabbed his phone, scrolled the news, checked emails, and tried to numb himself back to sleep. But it only made him feel heavier and gave him headaches the next morning. Finally, one night, instead of his phone, John sat up, lit a small candle, and simply said, "Lord, I'm here. What do you want to tell me?" In that absolute stillness, a strange idea surfaced, a foundation-reinforcing method he had never studied in a textbook. It didn't come as a complex blueprint, but as a powerful intuition. The next morning, John presented the idea to his team. They were stunned. The 2-year deadlock was resolved in a single week. John realized that 3:15 a.m. wasn't a time for anxiety. It was the time to receive the blueprint from the Creator. The mistake we often make, the biggest mistake chosen ones make, is treating these awakenings as a medical problem. When you use sleeping pills or digital distractions to fill that gap, you are jamming the signal from heaven. Another mistake is letting fear in. Many feel lonely or uneasy in the dark. But remember the psalm. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is the container for power. A small lesson. the cup and the water. There is a spiritual law you must remember. You cannot pour new water into a full cup. During the day, your mind is full of the world's thoughts. God chooses the night to pour the fresh water of wisdom into you, because that is when your ego is asleep and your heart is most reachable. If you feel heat in your palms, a tingle down your spine, or a sudden urge to pray for someone specific, do not ignore it. Your body is reacting to the higher frequency of heaven. You aren't sick. You are being upgraded for a new assignment. Sensitivity is not a weakness. To the men listening, you've been taught to be tough and logical. But for a chosen one, your sensitivity is your early warning system. When you walk into a room and feel a heavy atmosphere, or you feel off about a business deal that looks perfect on paper, that is the training from your midnight hours. God is teaching you discernment. He is fine-tuning your spiritual ears so you can hear His voice louder than the noise of the crowd. I know you're tired. I know you sometimes wish you were normal, but you were chosen because you have the stamina to carry this glory. Every night you wake up, smile, and say, "Thank you for trusting me enough to call my name." But if you think this disruption is only about your sleep, you've only seen a fraction of the picture. There is a louder disruption happening in your career and your relationships. Why is everything crumbling? Let's move to the next part to understand why your world is shaking and why it's the best thing that could happen to you. The sacred disruption. When your world crumbles to make way for your kingdom. Have you ever felt like the ground beneath your feet is moving? The things you thought were your bedrock, a stable job, a tight-knit circle of friends, or a reputation you spent years building, are suddenly cracking. I know that feeling. It feels like standing in a building being demolished, and you cry out, "Lord, what did I do wrong?" But I want you to take a deep breath. You did nothing wrong. What you are experiencing isn't a collapse. It is a sacred disruption. God is allowing the shaking so that everything that doesn't belong in your future can fall away. When rejection is actually protection. In our culture, we fear failure. But for a chosen one, failure is often a GPS. Some doors slam shut, not because you weren't good enough, but because the room behind that door became too small for the stature of your soul. Think of an eagle. When the eaglet is old enough, the mother eagle starts removing the soft feathers from the nest, exposing the sharp sticks. Why? To make the eaglet uncomfortable. If the nest stayed cozy, the eagle would never fly. Your current discomfort is heaven saying, "This nest is no longer for you. It's time to soar." The story of Sarah, from rubble to rebirth. Look at Sarah, a 52-year-old manager in Ohio. She spent 20 years at a financial firm. She was loyal and expected to retire there. Then one Monday, she was abruptly laid off. That same year, her best friends from the office stopped calling. Sarah felt she had lost her identity. But in the silence of her empty house, she began to hear an old whisper. A project for a counseling center for abused women she had delayed for 15 years because she was too busy with her stable job. That painful disruption forced Sarah out of her comfort zone. If she hadn't been fired, she would have remained a cog in someone else's machine forever. Today, she owns her own practice, helping thousands. Looking back, she says, "The day I was fired wasn't my darkest day. It was the day I was set free." The common mistake: fixing what God wants to break. The biggest mistake is trying to scotch tape the cracks. You try to revive a dead relationship. You try to beg for a job that drained your soul. You try to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. The more you grip, the more your hands bleed. If God is shaking a relationship, it's because He knows that person cannot go with you into your harvest season. Don't be a desperate repairman for the obsolete. Become a co-creator with God. A small lesson: the high rise and the foundation. There is a difference between building a shack and a skyscraper. To build a shack, you just level the dirt. But to build a 100-story tower, you have to dig deep, blast through rock, and create a massive hole. Your life isn't designed for the mediocre. You are a skyscraper. Don't be surprised if your digging phase is noisier and deeper than everyone else's. The deeper the hole, the taller the tower. The 99 rule and absolute obedience. Why did I ask you to comment 99? It represents the moment before completion. 100. You are at the threshold. Strategy now isn't about effort. It's about alignment. For men, obedience might be dropping your pride to apologize or walking away from a dishonest deal. For women, it might be stopping the habit of caring for everyone except yourself. One small act of obedience can trigger a domino effect of miracles that 10 years of human effort could never achieve. Now, the shadows are fading to make room for the emergence, the moment of your radiant unveiling. After the restless white nights and the violent shaking of your world, you might feel like a heap of rubble, but in reality, you are a masterpiece being released from an old, restrictive mold. You are no longer the person you were yesterday. Through these trials, you have been refined into a version of yourself that is resilient, powerful, and overflowing with grace. Do not fear these new beginnings or the empty spaces left behind by sacred disruptions. God never clears a space without a plan to fill it with something far greater. The people who walked away and the positions you lost were simply making room for a kingdom of peace, prosperity, and true purpose designed specifically for you. You were chosen to shine at this very moment, to be a lighthouse for those still lost in the storm. Walk with your head held high and your heart wide open, for your light heals not only yourself, but brings hope to the world around you. Every fragmented piece of your past is now being woven together by the heavenly hand into a perfect tapestry. To ensure we continue this journey together and that you don't miss the next divine navigations on this glorious path, I invite you to subscribe to this channel as a sacred connection between kindred spirits. Have faith, for your step of obedience today is the key that unlocks the miracles of tomorrow. We shall walk in the light together, for the best is truly yet to come. God is always with you.